It started over 30 years ago, and it lasted for 2 years. Very few people have ever heard me mention these 2 years of my life, and that is really odd since I usually tell almost everything about myself. Those who know me would really say that I'm an open book, but these 2 years were just really personal, especially since they were the 2 years that basically set the course for the rest of my life. And after I was saved, I just wanted more of God. I wanted more of His power. I wanted everything that God had for me, and I had this insatiable hunger for more of Him. So I would spend anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a day praying and worshiping. And I took the expression prayer closet literally. I just cleared out this space in my closet where I would just sit and pray and read my Bible and just bask in God's presence. I was just having this personal revival in my life, and that's when it happened. I was laying on the couch in my living room and I was awake, but I had a vision where it felt like I was being transported into heaven. And there was just this calm and peaceful darkness all around me. And I saw 2 white doves flying together side by side. Then suddenly, one of the doves fell back and the other dove just continued flying alone. And in the distance, I saw this bright light that was growing brighter and brighter. And the closer I got to the light, the more I just felt God's presence. It was just enveloping me. And I really literally thought maybe I was dying, but I had no fear at all. Part of me wanted to die so that I could just stay in this place with God forever. And all I wanted was just to be in His presence. And then God began to speak to me. And I felt that He was telling me that this vision really signified a solitary walk with Him. And that's why one of the doves flew alone. And I sensed that I would walk many places in my life alone with God. Now, in the glow of His presence that day, that just sounded really marvelous. But in the days ahead, I would experience that painful side of walking alone with God. And that happened when I would start to share my experience, and really pretty much no one understood. My call was a solitary experience with God. It was between God and me, and no one else could give me that call. No one else could convince me of the call. No one else could fulfill my call. Not even my husband. Not my closest friends, no one. And my closest friends actually thought that I was a little spooky spiritual, and I really felt like a round peg in a square hole. I just didn't fit anywhere, and it seemed like few people could relate to me. I could just feel their skepticism, so I just tucked those precious moments with God away in the secret place of my heart. So it's easy to see why I quit talking about it, but I didn't quit thinking about it. And I began to realize that God was calling me to full-time ministry, to pastor, and to preach, which I now do. This would be a very solitary journey because no one believed that a woman could do either of these. But that didn't stop me from following God's calling and purpose for my life. So, what is your purpose? Maybe your purpose is to be a minister like me, or a business owner, or an entrepreneur, or a parent, a doctor, a salesperson, a teacher, a writer. What's important is that you respond to the call. You see, the call motivates us to action. The call motivates us to obey. The call motivates us even to sacrifice. Each of us has a certain call, and each of us must be certain of the call. Ephesians 2:10 says, "We are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God has prepared in advance for us to do." Remember how Moses spent 40 years on the backside of a desert before he ever led Israel to the promised land? Or what about David? He tended sheep for so many years and then served the wicked Saul before he took his rightful place as king. And then there's Joseph. Think about Joseph. Before he was ever able to rule in a palace, he was in a pit and a prison. And of course, Jesus, he spent 30 years waiting and working as a carpenter before his ministry began. God has a call for your life. Whatever you do for God, be sure it is from God. Many years ago, I heard the call, and for many years, I had been silent, but not anymore. Why? Because I have a call and a purpose from God, and so do you. Even if others don't recognize it, even if you've waited forever, or even if your circumstances contradict it. This is true for everyone. God has given all of us a calling and a purpose. Don't let anything keep you from your calling.